to Mornington Peninsula Regional Gallery Creativity Online. My name's Jill, I'm the Education Officer at the Gallery. Today I would like to talk to you about two fabulous artists in our collection who both do something very interesting with their practice. They'd probably both call themselves landscape artists, most likely. But instead of going out into the landscape and it being about this is what I can see and this is what I think of the landscape and this is what I want to communicate to you about the environment, both of these artists, they work with the forces of nature to create their artworks. So we're going to be talking about the works of Cameron Robbins and John Woolsey, and then we'll have a go at making some of our own works inspired by the way that they work with nature. Cameron Robbins makes sort of quirky, funky machines that are powered by the wind, and through various contraptions and things, it's connected to a pen at the other end, so it harnesses the power of the wind and draws on paper at the other end, and they're just absolutely beautiful, drawn by the forces of nature. So here's the basic setup that you need to do a wind drawing. A twig with a bit of flexibility in it can be good, or you can use something rigid which will give you more straight lines. Attach your texter, attach a bit of string, and then this is what attaches to your branch, and the whole thing hangs down like this and blows in the wind and makes marks on the page. Here's the setup I've got in my backyard. I've got a texter attached to a stick, attached to string, attached to a low branch. This one was produced by bamboo, and it gave quite a different mark. These much more straight lines. This one was from what turned out to be my favourite tree because I loved the way it gave a slightly circular design. And for this one, I had a pen that I could fill with ink, and I could regularly refill it because I did find with the pens that they tended to dry out. So this was quite useful. Every hour or so I could refill this pen with ink. And I did rotate the paper around on the ground to accentuate the natural curve that my tree was giving me. The tree sort of gives a curve like this. So each time I reset it and put more ink in my pen, I would turn the page around to sort of accentuate the fact that I was getting this circular drawing. And here's the same Pittosporum again with different pens, one at a time. Each pen probably had a couple of hours on a windy day, and I also rotated every time I changed the pen colour. I would turn the page around a little bit. This is an experiment I'm doing. I've set it up with lots of different pens, as you can see, to see what happens, but it's not very windy today and there's not much happening and I'm getting a bit impatient. So I'm decided to be inspired by an artist whose work I saw in Top Arts, the best of VCE art and studio arts put on at the NGV, and I think I saw it, maybe 10 years ago, I'm not too sure. And she had been inspired also by this whole idea of drawings that are not done directly by the human hand, and she had attached a whole lot of textures to strings hanging off a belt, and they touched the floor, and she'd covered her entire kitchen with paper, and she made 100 cups of tea. And I remember it made a beautiful drawing, the texture marks on the paper on the floor of her kitchen. So I'm going to be inspired by that, and I am going to pick 100 leaves off this tree here and see if it makes an interesting drawing. Let's see. So I think I might have got a bit carried away. I think I did a few more than 100 leaves. But it was kind of fun, and my tree did need pruning, I've got to say. I haven't done any lasting damage. But an interesting drawing nevertheless. And John Woolsey does interesting things. He does things, maybe he'll leave his papers to blow around in the environment for weeks or months on end, or he'll bury them and let the organisms in the soil do the mark making for him. A lovely thing that part of his practice is that when he's in a landscape that's been burnt, he'll attach his paper to his drawing board and then kind of walk through or dance. He talks about dancing with the trees, with all the burnt twigs, and they make beautiful marks on his paper through the charcoal on the twigs. and then he might add to that with some of his own drawings. So they're just some of the ways that he works with nature. This is an artwork I did homage to John Woolsey. So I did exactly the same thing that he likes to do, and I danced with the burnt landscape. This was done down at Wilson's Promontory, so I was down there after the fires, and I attached my paper to my drawing board and danced through the burnt landscape and got all these beautiful marks on my page. And then I contrasted that with these very realistic drawings of the Banksias and the eucalypt seed pods and the Banksia leaves as well, kind of as a symbol of the seeds and of the growth and the new life that would come after the fires, even though at the time the landscape was extremely barren. Here's another idea about doing works inspired by John Woolsey. This artwork was left out in the rain and the mud on the side of the river in the Peruvian jungle, and then various leaves and seed pods. I just painted a bit of watercolour paint on them and then stamped them onto the pages and made an artwork here. This one came out particularly well. You can see the veins of the leaf here. This was a big leaf, this one here. And so none of this is actually drawn by my hand. It's all just drawn by the forces of nature. So I hope these examples have inspired you to do an artwork in collaboration with Mother Nature, using her powers and combining them with your creativity to make a beautiful artwork. Have fun, and I'll see you next time.